Tokyo Disneyland can best be described by a single word: dichotomy. As you wander the park, it at times feels like you've stepped back into the past. Fantasyland presents itself in a crudely classic, almost amateurish manner. Yet, just next door in Critter Country, you're immersed in a land that could best be described as a hallmark of professional-themed entertainment design. You have dated attractions in need of a refresh, neighboring technological marvels that continue to rival even modern Disney attractions, despite opening decades ago. The park has one of arguably the best Disney stage shows ever presented, alongside another stage production that could be best described as a fever dream. This dichotomy continues as you wander the park's many lands. You're confronted by a collection of sights and sounds that seem oh so familiar, yet are different in a way that's difficult to describe. There's Main Street USA, but it has a roof. There's the Tiki Room, but it has Stitch. There's Frontierland, but it's called Western Land. There's a train, but it doesn't go around the whole park. It only has one stop. Tokyo Disneyland is weird. Yet despite this, it's arguably one of, if not the best Disney Kingdom-style park in the world. For the few things Tokyo Disneyland does poorly, it makes up for elsewhere tenfold in excellence. So where does the park shine, and where does it falter? Let's find out. For Review Time, I'm Luke, and this is our review of Tokyo Disneyland. Family rides. Tokyo Disneyland's ride selection feels like a greatest hits offering of Disney staples. You've got all of the classics, partnered with unique and groundbreaking attractions that combine into what is arguably the best family ride lineup of any Disney park. Speaking of unique and groundbreaking, let's start with the park's newest attraction, the Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast. This is a beautiful ride, packed full of spectacular effects and genuine jaw-dropping moments. The queue for Beauty and the Beast weaves you through the grounds and halls of the Beast's castle, creating one of the most incredible introductions of any theme park ride we've experienced, and it culminates in a simply spectacular pre-show. The attraction itself finds you boarding a teacup that dances through the many scenes of Beauty and the Beast. These scenes are presented through fluid and detailed animatronics combined with unparalleled special effects. While the pacing of this ride starts strong, it does tend to meander in some scenes, such as Something There and the ballroom finale. Despite this, it does give you a good opportunity to appreciate the sheer scale of this attraction, because it is frankly gigantic. This is a fantastic new addition to Tokyo Disneyland and one of the don't miss attractions within their lineup. And if you think our content here is a don't miss experience, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're in the home stretch to finally hit 100,000 subscribers. However, and this may be a controversial opinion, I still think I prefer Pooh's Honey Hunt as the best trackless dark ride at Tokyo Disneyland. That ride still holds up incredibly well after almost 2 decades of operation. We have talked about this ride in length before, and if you want to see our whole video dedicated to it, it can be found here. Opening alongside Beauty and the Beast and sharing the spot for the newest attraction is the Happy Ride with Baymax, which shares the same ride system as Mater's Junkyard Jamboree or Alien Swirling Saucers. This, though, is easily the best integration of that ride system. Heck, it might actually be more fun off-ride than on, watching the guests and cast members dance along with the multiple certified banger original songs that make up the ride soundtrack. It's nowhere near as ambitious in scope or scale as Beauty and the Beast, but it doesn't have to be. And it really stresses how even the smallest of offerings can be presented in fun and unique ways. The park also includes many Fantasyland dark ride staples such as Peter Pan's Flight, Pinocchio's Daring Journey, and Snow White's Adventures, which here is still scary. These staples don't stop in Fantasyland though. Pirates of the Caribbean at Tokyo Disneyland has all of the movie tie-in enhancements, whilst retaining many of the classic scenes. I would argue this doesn't necessarily make it better though, as many of those scenes have been updated for good reason, but it's interesting to see them here. The Jungle Cruise, while offered entirely in Japanese, showcases some of the most energetic skippers you will ever find. The Haunted Mansion is also available at the park, but this mansion is fairly unique to the others. It still feels like it did on opening day, and has seen almost no updates since. This means that areas such as the big weird spider room are still there, and it's a great way to look back on the history of the Haunted Mansion. Despite that, like all attractions at Tokyo Disneyland, it's expertly upkept and barely shows its age. This park does also offer Haunted Mansion Holiday, which sees it receive a Nightmare Before Christmas overlay during the later parts of the year. Over in Tomorrowland, Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek shows what happens when you design a ride with fun in the front of your mind. The Monster World has opened its doors to us humans for a little game of flashlight tag, where an onboard flashlight causes various unexpected things to happen throughout the ride. There is no scoring system, it's just fun, and puts the California Adventure Monsters Inc. ride to shame. Outside of this, there are a ton of other iconic family attractions around the park, but this video would be hours long if we talked about every single one. Rest assured, if you're after family rides, you're in good hands here. Tokyo Disneyland gets a 10 out of 10 for family rides. Thrill rides. Look, we know that you don't exactly come to Disney for the thrill rides, and Tokyo Disneyland is no different. But there are a few little treats scattered throughout the park for those seeking thrills. To start, this park is now the only one in the world that still contains the classic Splash Mountain, and this one has an entire land surrounding it. Being Tokyo Disney, all of the animatronics are in peak performance, and the drop is designed in such a way that you still get all of the thrill without getting absolutely destroyed by water, ruining the rest of your day. There are plenty of rumors floating around that Splash isn't long for this world in Tokyo either, but even once this ride changes, the theme may be different, but the thrills will remain the same. These mountains over the years have become somewhat synonymous with thrills, but the only other operating mountain at Tokyo Disneyland is Big Thunder, which is your expected wild ride through the wilderness. This is because Space Mountain has recently closed until 2027, in which time it's being torn down and replaced with a brand new Space Mountain experience. Now, we can't exactly pinpoint why, but Star Tours isn't all that popular at Tokyo Disneyland. This thankfully does mean that there's a ride that sits at 5 minutes for most of the day and hits a whopping 20 when it's busy. It's the newer Adventures Continue version of the ride here, but it seems to have had far fewer updates than other versions around the world. With all of this in mind, and with the loss of Space Mountain, this does leave the thrill lineup feeling fairly lacking. Come 2027, the park will have a brand new next-generation launch Space Mountain, which looks like it will be incredible. Until then, Tokyo Disneyland gets a 6 out of 10 for thrill rides. Experiences. We visited Tokyo Disneyland over 2 days, and our second day at the park was insanely busy. Walking around, we were worried we would essentially get nothing done. But it actually turned into one of my favorite ever theme park days, because we were essentially forced to embrace the chill experiences around Tokyo Disneyland that we may not have done otherwise. On that day, we legitimately rope dropped the train that wraps around Western Land and Critter Country. We went and explored Tom Sawyer Island, climbing, weaving, and jumping around areas that truly felt empty. Even attractions like the Mark Twain Riverboat gave us a moment of peace in a park that was packed to the brim. We unfortunately missed out on the canoes as they shut earlier than we expected, but they are the perfect way to experience the rivers of America in a perfectly chill way. The castle here also offers a highly unique walkthrough experience that tells the story of Cinderella through mixed medium artworks. Throughout the park, there are also plenty of characters to meet and greet, but a lot of them do this weird circle thing where everyone crowds around the character and the character stands in the middle and decides who gets to step forward and join them in the circle to actually meet them. Wearing a loud character-specific item or being a child seems to be the best way to grab their attention. Outside of rides, there are a ton of things to do around Tokyo Disneyland, though something to keep in mind is that there's a blurred line between what makes something an experience and what makes something entertainment. We've genuinely struggled to perfectly categorize these over the years, which means that part of the following score plays into what is also on offer in entertainment. Tokyo Disneyland gets a 9 out of 10 for experiences. Entertainment. I think it's fair to say that Tokyo Disneyland might have the best entertainment of any Disney park in the world. The variety of offerings and quality of each puts other Disney parks to shame. On our visit, there were 3 full-scale parades. First, there was the regular day parade, Harmony and Color, which continues the Tokyo trend of spectacular day parades packed with huge-scale floats and countless performers. Second was the Halloween parade, Villains into the Frenzy, a parade guests went wild for, containing some of Disney's most dastardly villains, as well as the most pyro I have ever seen in a parade. Like seriously, how do these floats shoot so much fire? Finally, the night parade, Tokyo Disneyland Electrical Parade Dreamlights, is a perfect finale to your day, with this version consistently being updated to feature new floats that actually showcase films from the last 5 decades, unlike the traditional electrical parade, which you can occasionally find showing in the United States. Mickey's Magical Music World might just be the best Mickey and the Adjective Noun show that Disney has ever made. Jam-packed with special effects and incredible moments of awe, we unfortunately couldn't film this, so you'll need to just take our word for it. But I do wish there were some live singers throughout the show, but thankfully, the jaw-dropping moments will distract you from that lack of live singers. Remember earlier when I said that the park has arguably one of the best stage shows ever presented, alongside another stage production that could best be described as a fever dream? Well, Club Mouse Beat seems like it's not long for this world with the upcoming Tomorrowland overhaul, and that's not necessarily the worst thing. The show is fine and a great way to see a variety of characters, but it's easily the weak link in a park filled with amazing entertainment offerings. You do get to see Lightning McQueen though, which alone makes it worth seeing. Ka-chow! The park also has a few animatronic shows that play continuously throughout the day. The Enchanted Tiki Room, Stitch Presents Aloha Ikomo Mai, is an international treasure that is highly underrated. I genuinely think it would be a great addition to Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. The park also still has the classic Country Bear Jamboree, which still gets its summer and Christmas overlays. People seem to genuinely really enjoy this attraction here, and it's a perfect option to just give yourself a little break from the chaos of the park. They've also recently just debuted a brand new nighttime projection show called Reach for the Stars. This is packed with great moments and music, but does fall into the modern Disney show trap of feeling more like an advertisement for Disney+. Tokyo Disneyland gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for entertainment. Operations. Operationally, Tokyo Disneyland is completely different from any other Disney park due to a lot of cultural differences. It's incredible how busy these parks can get, with people lining the streets, the lines, the restaurants everywhere. On our visit, people were coming into the park at 8:30 a.m. just to immediately go and sit down for the Halloween parade that didn't start until 3 p.m. Thankfully, cast members on attractions absolutely pump guests through the rides. These are some of the most efficient attraction operations you will find worldwide. However, a lot of food stands and restaurants feel woefully inefficient. Here's an example of what we needed to do one time when we wanted to get a beer. Yes, you can get a beer at Tokyo Disneyland, which is a good thing. You wait in line for roughly 10 to 15 minutes. Then when you get to the front, you place your order. You pay for the order, receive your receipt, and move to the side. You then give that receipt to a server, who then informs another person who is actually serving you the drink. They then present you with the drink, which you take, but during this time, nobody else is served. You have 3 servers with differing roles, all attending to a single person, even after their job is complete. This is similar if you want a popcorn or an ice cream. But not every food location was like this, which is kinda strange, as at some, multiple people were served at once, which made the same length queue 2 to 3 times more efficient. The most worrying thing operationally, though, is that the park is very quickly moving towards predatory tactics to promote purchasing vacation packages or paid extras. An example of this is the occasional removal of free show viewings outside of the lottery. The park used to provide a standby option for the first show of the day, where guests could see the show without needing a lottery ticket or payment to view. On our visit, though, this wasn't available. You either got lucky in the lottery, which thankfully we did, or you didn't see the show. This has since been made even worse, with some of the lottery seats now being reserved for premiere access, meaning you get lucky in the lottery or open your wallet. Now, this standby removal does only happen in the busy season from what we've heard, but it still happened to us, and it could happen to you, so it's definitely worth mentioning. Speaking of the lottery as well, it stinks. This might be more of a cultural thing, but it can be a big detractor to your day. As soon as you enter the park, you see groups of people standing around their phones, fingers crossed, trying for the shows that they want to see. And it wasn't uncommon to hear them sigh or show visible frustration about not getting in. Because if you don't get the lottery, that's it. You can't try again. And there's no guarantee standby will be offered at all on the day of your visit, which means if you lose the lottery, the only way to see the show might be to open your wallet. Unlike most other Disney parks, they also close the ride queues early here. Meaning if the park closes in an hour and the queue for a ride is an hour, you won't be able to join it anymore. Meaning the only people who will be let in are, surprise, surprise, people with premiere access passes. The park's rides are run to operational perfection. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the only parks in the world that actually consistently hits its theoretical hourly capacity on attractions. But the money-chasing nature of the park has clearly changed since our last visit, and it worries me where they may move to in the future. Tokyo Disneyland gets an 8 out of 10 for operations. Theming. Theming at Tokyo Disneyland is an interesting mixed bag, and the quality varies greatly depending on when each area was constructed. There are still parts of Tokyo Disneyland that feel like you're stepping back in time to the early days of the Magic Kingdom. While the theming in this area is still of a super high quality, the barren, flat concrete walkways constantly try to divert your immersion. Areas like Adventureland are lush and inviting, but feature giant seas of green concrete. The weakest land in the park has to be Tomorrowland, and thankfully it's been getting a lot of attention currently. Recently opening the new Baymax area, and just a couple of months ago closed their Space Mountain to build a brand new one that will form the anchor point for a brand new Tomorrowland, one that will hopefully not feel as dated. Thankfully, we do have faith that this newly revitalized Tomorrowland will be great, because the newly opened areas such as Beauty and the Beast and New Fantasyland are immaculately detailed. The Beast Castle is jaw-dropping, one of the nicest ride entrances anywhere in the world. The poor provincial town of Belle's Home is just an amazing place to be in thematically, with such great attention to detail, realistic scale, and best of all, themed walkways. Tokyo Disneyland gets a 9 out of 10 for theming. Merchandise. Merchandise is a hard thing to review, as the resort cycles through merch faster than any other. Local guests go crazy for things that would be a struggle to sell in other parks around the world, and the resort struggles to keep desirable merchandise in stock, with some items selling out on the first day and never coming back into stock. This does mean that countless new things are coming out, and we notice multiple new items pretty much every day we're at the resort. The loud shirt selection in the park is incredible. No notes. The little mystery box figures also not a single note. And the gachapon, again, noteless. They even recently upgraded the famous Mickey hand soap, and the new one is even better than the old one. Be aware if you are after Duffy and friends, they are only available at Tokyo Disney Sea. The omiyage are a great souvenir item and memory from the park. Designed to be given as gifts, these are little snacks and treats that come in well-designed packaging you can keep even after the contents are eaten. Tokyo Disneyland gets an 8 out of 10 for merchandise. Affordability. This is a difficult category to fairly talk about, as things are incredibly cheap in this park for us. But that's just because the Japanese yen is currently trading weakly. So things like day tickets for the park are incredibly cheap by other Disney park standards, but expensive for the Japanese locals, especially for the cast members who only make around $7 an hour. Tokyo Disneyland uses fluctuating ticket prices that range from 7,900 to 10,900 yen, or around $50 to $70 per day, with no option for a multi-day ticket or even an annual pass. You need to buy a single ticket for every day you want to spend in the park. Also be aware that while they seem relatively cheap, paid extras can quickly add up. On busy days, you could quickly spend over what you've paid just for your day ticket, just to get the rides you want done, with each queue skip ranging from around $10 to $15 per person. Thankfully, the park does still have a free fast pass option, but it's only available for the less desirable attractions and books out insanely quickly. Merchandise is relatively affordable, but fluctuates wildly depending on the product or item. Food is where some of the best value items in the park are found, with things like a box of popcorn only costing around $2.50 US, which is great as the park specializes in a variety of flavors and you'll want to try multiple until you ultimately decide curry is the best flavor. Quick service meals are similarly cheap, only running around $8 to $12 US, and snacks and desserts are only a couple of dollars each. Tokyo Disneyland gets a 9 out of 10 for affordability. Atmosphere. When we visited in October, the park was heaving. There were guests everywhere, lines extending well beyond their attached attractions, queues for even the most basic of things such as ice cream and popcorn, and people both sitting and standing all around the parade route for what seemed like every moment of the day. It's difficult to know how often the park is like this, and it did create a great atmosphere in areas with guests buzzing with energy. But be aware that those days aren't for the faint of heart. Thankfully, there are some places of respite. The area around Splash Mountain is impeccably themed, with little nooks and crannies to explore. It's not uncommon to be resting here only to have a character come by and say hello. Despite the sheer number of guests, they're still very respectful. If you're watching the fireworks or waiting for a parade, you're unlikely to be pushed or shoved. And if you're watching a nighttime show or a parade, the first few rows will sit down so you can easily see over them, even taking off their ears so they don't get in your view. Of course, this is a Disney park. They're known for their atmosphere and they do it incredibly well. Theme music resonates through the many lands and everyone appears to be having a great time. The crowds during the shows, fireworks, and parades all show their appreciation for the performers and characters, and it's genuinely very sweet to see. People get into Disney a little more here than in the other parks, so it's not a surprise to see another guest completely decked out from head to toe in their favorite character. Tokyo Disneyland gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for atmosphere. Services. Pretty much all of the park's attractions and shows are in Japanese. While a few like the Tiki Room do offer translation devices, we find that these aren't really necessary, as it's possible to get the gist of pretty much everything from just experiencing it. Most cast members speak enough English to get by, and the age-old point at the menu will work in a pinch. If you ever do get truly stuck though with a question or request, head to guest relations where a fluent English speaker will be more than happy to help out. Sadly, there are no physical park maps anymore, one of the many things they will push you towards the app for. The resort also lacks free Wi-Fi, and the app is pretty much required if you want to do things like book priority passes, request lotteries, and even order food in some areas, so you're going to need to purchase an eSIM or portable Wi-Fi device for your stay. Things like restaurant bookings can be made online a month in advance, and are highly recommended if you want to guarantee a sit-down dining option. Also, be prepared to walk a lot if you're spending a day in this park, as it is surprisingly large thanks to those huge expansive walkways that dominate the park, and a hub that is over 3 times the size of the one at Disneyland. They also offer a number of accessibility services for guests who require them, but we recommend looking them up online to see what they can offer you that best fits your needs. Tokyo Disneyland gets a 9 out of 10 for services. Every time I visit Tokyo Disneyland, I enjoy it more than the last. The park just gets so much right and exudes Disney magic. The unique offerings, classic staples, and entertainment masterpieces make this the best Kingdom Disney park in the world in my eyes. And whilst it's not as well themed as Tokyo Disney Sea, Tokyo Disneyland may just be a better park to be in. But over to you. What are your thoughts on Tokyo Disneyland? Let us know in the comments below. For Review Time, I'm Luke. Thanks for watching.